"You'll regret leaving me," she yelled, tears cutting streaks through the makeup on her face. Hot soup splashed all over Emika's chest, stinging like crazy, as Chioma's voice boomed through the packed little restaurant. All the villagers just stopped what they were doing and stared. Adobe, she just froze too, a rag in her hand, her eyes burning with hurt. Who was this fancy lady claiming Emika? And why was he just standing there, soaked and not saying a word, like he was stuck between two different worlds? This was going to be a big mess, and it was just getting started. Stick with Baobab African Tales, hit that subscribe button, and let's find out what's really going on. See, Emeka Okonkwo lived right in the heart of Lagos, Nigeria, where the big buildings almost touch the clouds and the streets are always buzzing with money and power. He was 28, and he was the golden boy of this billionaire oil family. He had cars worth a fortune, a huge house with marble floors, and parties that never stopped. But deep down, Emeka felt like he was stuck in a cage. His friends? All fake. His girlfriend? Just after his money. One night, at some fancy party, with champagne flowing and everyone showing off, he heard her talking to a friend, plotting on how to empty his bank account. "He's my golden ticket," she giggled, not knowing he was right there. That was it for Emeka. His heart didn't break from love, but from how disgusted he was. He needed to get out, away from all the lies, the greed, the life that wasn't really his. He was muttering to himself, like, "I'm done with this, they don't even see me. They just see my dad's oil wells." The next morning, he knew what he had to do. He was leaving Lagos to find something real, love, a purpose, some place where he wasn't just some ATM walking around. He stood in front of his parents, the Lagos skyline shining behind them through the big windows, a reminder of the empire he was supposed to inherit. His mother, Nkechi, was sitting there stiff as a board, her head wrapped tied up high like a crown. His father, Obi, was leaning back in his leather chair, like some king on his throne, puffing on a cigar that cost more than most folks' rent. Emeka took a deep breath and said it. "I'm leaving Lagos." Nkechi's eyes went wide, her voice sharp as a razor. "You can't just walk away, Emeka. What will people think?" She grabbed her wrap tight, like his words were going to ruin the family's name. In her world, what everyone else thought was everything. Every little whisper, every news story mattered more than anything. Obi didn't say anything at first, just letting his cigar smoke curl up in the air, but he was staring right through Emeka. "Why?" he finally asked, his voice low and dangerous. "I'm tired of living a lie," Emeka said, trying to sound brave, even though he was shaking inside. "Everyone just wants my money, not me. I need to find something real, love, a purpose, away from all this." Nkechi jumped up, waving her hands around. "Love, purpose? You're the only son of Obi Okonkwo. Your purpose is right here, running this empire." But Obi put up his hand, telling her to be quiet. He leaned forward, squinting. "All right, go, but you've got 6 months. That's it. Then you come back and marry Chioma A's. Her father's connections will keep our family strong." Emeka's stomach dropped. Chioma, she was beautiful, classy, but he didn't even know her. This was just a business deal. Not a wife, he thought. 6 months, he repeated, then turned and walked away. He was going to take this on, but he was going to do things his way, no matter what. 300 kilometers away from the crazy lights of Lagos, Emeka Okonkwo rolled into a small village in southeastern Nigeria. His fancy shoes were traded in for some dusty sandals. The air here was different, fresh, with the smell of wood smoke and the red dirt after it rained that morning. He'd left behind that billionaire life and swapped skyscrapers for a simple mud house with a tin roof that would shake whenever the wind blew. It wasn't much, just one room with a squeaky bed and a kerosene lamp. But to Emeka, that felt like freedom. He needed a job, something to keep his hands busy and take his mind off all that stuff in the past. That's when he ended up at Mama Ngozi's Buka, a busy little place where all the villagers ate. Mama Ngozi, she was a round woman with a laugh that could wake up the dead, and she sized him up fast. "You look strong enough," she said, and gave him an apron. "Start tomorrow, don't be late." Just like that, Emeka was a server, bringing out big plates of jollof rice, pounded yam, and that goosey soup to all the hungry customers. The work was hard, Hot, sweaty days in the sun, his feet would hurt from standing all day, and his arms would ache from carrying trays loaded up with food. Now he was dodging chickens in the yard and washing pots with water he had to carry from a well a half-kilometer away. But something was happening inside him. For the first time, he felt alive, like a real man, not just a name on a bank statement. The villagers didn't know his family owned oil wells worth billions of naira, and that was the best part. They welcomed him with open arms, no strings attached. "Hey, new guy, more goosey soup over here," a farmer yelled one afternoon, his smile wide and real. Emeka laughed, wiping the sweat off his face with the back of his hand. "Coming right up," he shouted back, hurrying to the kitchen. Another day, an old woman patted his arm after he served her some fried plantains. "You're a good boy," she said, her voice warm like a grandma's hug. That kindness hit him hard. Here, he wasn't a wallet, he was just Emeka. The sun was shining right over Mama Ngozi's buka, turning that little restaurant into a buzzing place filled with noise and the sound of plates. Emeka was weaving between tables, carrying trays of jollof rice and bowls of that Ngozi soup, thick with spinach and goat meat. Sweat was running down his forehead, and then he saw her. Adewob Ngosu, a 25-year-old schoolteacher with a fire in her eyes and a heart as big as the village. She was there for lunch, her arms full of books for all the kids she taught at the school. Adewob wasn't just nice, she was tough, always fighting for the kids who didn't have anything but their dreams. Emeka liked that about her right away. He was wiping down a table when their eyes met. "You're new around here," she said, her voice calm but warm, like a nice breeze. "I'm Adu." Emeka grinned, a little shy. "Guilty as charged." "I'm Emeka." That was it, the start of something. A spark, quiet, but real, like a little light shining in the dark. But you know how it goes. Things never stay peaceful when there's trouble brewing. That's when Chike showed up, the chief's son, acting like he owned the place. He was tall and loud, with this attitude that just screamed he was better than everyone else. He came in with his buddies, shouting orders. "Hey, server boy, where's my food?" "You're slower than a snail," he yelled, loud enough for everyone to hear. Emeka bit his tongue and put down a plate of pounded yam and vegetable stew. "Here you go," he said, trying to stay calm. But Chike wasn't finished. "What's this trash?" he said, and pushed the plate so the stew splattered all over Emeka's apron. "You call this service? Some poor nobody like you shouldn't even be near me. I'm the chief's son." The whole place went quiet, everyone staring at Emeka. He clenched his fists, but before he could say anything, Adawi jumped up, hands on her hips, her voice sharp as a knife. "Leave him alone, Chike. He works harder than you ever will, just sitting around bragging about your dad's title." Chike's face got all twisted up, like he couldn't believe she was talking to him like that. "You dare talk to me like that, Adawi?" he spat. "I'll get him fired." But Adawi didn't even flinch. "Go ahead and try. This village respects hard work, not just yelling." Chike was so embarrassed, he just stormed out, his friends following behind him. The whole place started whispering, some people even clapping for Adawi. She turned to Emeka, her face softer now. "You didn't deserve that." He nodded, feeling grateful. "Thanks, you've got guts." She smiled, a small but tough smile. And right then, something changed. They had a connection, built on courage and respect. The days turned into weeks, and Emeka found himself drawn to Adawi like a bug to a light. One afternoon, when a storm came through the village like a hurricane, the schoolhouse roof caved in. Adawi was there, soaking wet, trying to save her books. Emeka didn't even think about it. He grabbed a ladder, some old metal sheets, and climbed up there with her. They fixed that roof together, laughing as the rain poured down and the thunder crashed overhead. "You're crazy, you know that," she said, teasing him, with water dripping from her hair. "Takes one to know one," he said back, grinning. Under a clear night sky, they'd sit outside her little house, listening to the crickets and talking. Her voice was like a story, full of hope. "See these fields," she said. "Last year, the floods almost ruined everything. I taught the farmers to dig trenches, and we saved the harvest, even got 300 kilos more than usual." Emeka's eyes went wide. "You did that." She nodded, trying to act humble, but she was proud. And over there, she said, pointing to a group of women weaving baskets. I started a group to give them work, so they can feed their kids. Then there were the kids, all barefoot and messy, crowding around her after school. I teach them under that tree, reading, writing, anything to give them a chance. Emeka just watched her, his heart swelling up. This wasn't just some woman. She was a force, turning nothing into something with just her brain and her heart. Their evenings became a routine, planning a well here, a market stall there, laughter filling the village like music. But then, one afternoon, the quiet was broken by the sound of an engine. A shiny Range Rover pulled up fast, and out stepped Kayoma Eyes, Emeka's fiancée from Lagos, wearing a fancy outfit and covered in gold jewelry. She marched into the buka, her eyes burning. "Emeka," she yelled. "What is this nonsense? You're mine, not some village girl's." Everything just froze. Adobe blinked, stepping back, and Emeka's world felt like it was falling apart. Kayoma was here to get him back, and she wasn't going to leave without a fight. Kayoma was like a storm hitting the village, impossible to ignore. She walked through the streets, throwing those 5,000 naira bills at the kids and the farmers, who couldn't believe their eyes. Her smile was bright but cold, like those tall buildings back in Lagos. "Emeka, darling," she said, coming up to him at the buka and grabbing his arm like they were still together. "This little trip is over. Come back to Lagos, back to me, where you belong." Emeka pulled his arm away, his jaw tight. "It's not about money, Kayoma," he said, his voice low but serious. "It's about who I am with her." Kayoma's eyes flashed like lightning. Her? That dirty dreamer. She turned to Adiob, who was standing nearby, wiping down tables, and let loose her anger. "You think you can keep him, village girl? I'm his future, his real future, not some fantasy about living in a mud hut." Adiob's face turned red, and her hands were shaking as she held the rag, but her voice was calm. "I won't fight for him if he doesn't know what he wants," she said, soft but sharp. Then she turned and walked away, leaving a heavy silence behind her. The village was buzzing like a beehive. Some folks were drawn in by Kayoma's fancy clothes and jewelry, while others stood up for Adiob's quiet strength. Kayoma wasn't finished yet. She made her big move right there in Mama Ngozi's buka, with everyone packed in for lunch. "You'll regret leaving me, Emeka," she cried, her voice getting louder, as she grabbed a bowl of goosey soup and threw it all over his shirt. Tears ran down her face, fake tears, thick and dramatic, as she grabbed his arm and begged, "Don't throw us away." Everyone just stared, their food forgotten, whispering that maybe she was right, and he was too good for this place. Emeka stood there, soaking wet and shocked, the hot soup burning his skin. Kayoma's words hit him hard, bringing back memories of fancy apartments in Lagos and his parents' disapproval. But Adiob's silence hurt more, like a wound that wouldn't heal. That night, under the stars, he found her by the mango tree, her eyes red from crying. "Adiob," he said, his voice rough, "I'm not going back. I choose you." She looked up, searching his eyes. "Then prove it, Emeka. She's not giving up, and neither should you." The battle for his heart was on. The peace in the village was shattered like a dropped clay pot when Emeka's phone buzzed one afternoon. Then one afternoon Emeka's phone rang, and it was his dad, Obi. His voice was shaking. "Son, we're finished," he said, sounding like he was about to break. The company's oil rigs had been messed with, and they were losing millions. Emeka's heart sank as Obi told him the whole story. Chief Nwosu, some other big shot in the oil business with a mean streak, had hit them hard. His guys had snuck into the Okonkwo oil fields way out in the delta where the rigs were, and messed with the pumps, so they leaked oil into the rivers. It was a disaster. The fish were dying, and all the villages were turning against the Okonkwos. Then things got even worse. Fake documents were leaked to the news, making it look like Obi was to blame for the oil spill. They were getting fined millions, and clients were running away. People were even whispering about them going broke. "Come home, Emeka," Obi begged, his voice cracking. "We need you now, or we're going to lose everything. Our name, our company, everything." Emeka just stood there, stunned, the phone slipping out of his hand. He felt like he was being crushed. He knew he had to tell Aduabai the truth, leave this life he'd built, and go back to Lagos to deal with this mess. He walked back to his mud house, throwing some clothes into a bag, his head spinning. That's when Adubai found him, standing in the doorway. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice calm. Emeka sighed. "My family's company is falling apart. The rigs are ruined, the rivers are poisoned, and everyone's lying. I have to go back." She walked closer. "Who did this?" He hesitated, then told her, "Chief Nwosu, he's tearing us apart." Adubai's eyes got wide, and she said, "Wait, I know that name. Years ago, I helped a man after a car wreck on the Lagos-Enugu road. He was in a big fancy car, and he was bleeding badly. I helped him out and got him to a clinic. He said his name was Chief Nwosu." Emeka couldn't believe what he was hearing. "That's him." Adubai nodded, already thinking, "He owes me his life. Let me talk to him. I can fix this." Emeka just stared at her, not knowing what to think. "Adubai, this isn't some little argument in the village. This is about oil, money, and power." She cut him off, sounding fierce. "And I've got brains and a favor to call in. He's not untouchable, not to me. Trust me, Emeka. I'll go to Lagos with you." Her words hit him hard. This wasn't just kindness, it was courage. And Adubai was walking into the fire with him. Adeobi didn't even think twice about it before hopping on a beat-up bus, riding those 300 kilometers from the village to Lagos, still with dirt on her sandals. She arrived at Emeka's family's big house, where his sister, Ife, gave her a look. "You're meeting Chief Nwosu looking like that?" Ife asked, raising an eyebrow. Adubai grinned. "Not exactly." Ife dragged her upstairs, pulling out a beautiful dress, a deep red color with gold stitching. Emeka just stared at her. "You look unstoppable." She walked into Chief Nwosu's fancy office, with the Lagos skyline shining behind his desk. He leaned back, smirking. "A village girl trying to bargain with me?" Adubai didn't budge. "I'm the one who saved you, Chief. On that Lagos-Enugu road, your car was wrecked, and you were bleeding badly. I dragged you out and patched you up. You owe me your life." His smirk disappeared as he remembered. Then came the surprise. Months back, while tutoring the kids, she'd found a phone that someone had dropped. Curious, she charged it, and there it was, Nwosu's voice, giving orders to mess with the oil rigs. It was all recorded by a guy who was so mad that he'd been fired for refusing a bribe. "Call off your guys," she said, sliding the phone across the desk, the recording echoing in the room. "Or this will be all over the news." Nwosu's face went hard. "You're a lion in a woman's skin," he muttered, scribbling a deal. 50 million naira in payments, and the sabotage stops. Take it and go. Emeka's parents, Obi and Kechi, showed up, expecting a fight. Adubai met them at the gate with the papers. "It's over," she said, calm as ever. "Nwosu paid up, and your company is safe." Obi was shocked. Nkechi's eyes went wide. "Who is this girl?" Obi asked, impressed. "She's smarter than half my board of directors," Nkechi said. Then Adubai became a peacemaker. "No more fighting," she said. "He paid his debt, so why not work together, share the oil fields, and split the money?" Obi slowly nodded. "You've got my blessing, girl, rich or not." Days later, the Okonkwo's and Nwosu's signed a deal. They went from being enemies to partners, working together and making billions. A lost phone and a big heart, that's what changed everything. Wallah, what a journey, right? Emeka and Adubai faced some tough times, but now it's your turn to share your story. Have you ever been through a love story like this? Exes trying to cause trouble, parents getting in the way, secrets that could break you? Tell us your story in the comments. We want to hear it and put it in our next video, straight from your life. Or maybe you haven't had any problems yet. You can say, "Lord, let me meet a good-hearted person." Pray for that real love, the one who will walk this path with you. And just like you probably guessed, a love that overcame everything was headed for a happy ending. Emeka and Adubai were about to start a life together, brighter than the Lagos sun. Chioma went back to Lagos, embarrassed, while the village was buzzing with excitement. Emeka's parents, who were once so strict, hugged Adubai tight. "I was wrong," Nkechi said, her voice soft. You're the daughter we needed." That weekend, the village threw a wedding party. The drums were loud, there was plenty of palm wine, and people were dancing in the streets. Emeka and Adeobi stood under a tent, saying Igbo vows and getting Yoruba blessings. Their love was a bridge between two different worlds. "This isn't just our day," Emeka said, smiling at everyone. "It's the village's day." They promised 50 million naira to build a school and a clinic, creating something lasting, brick by brick. As the party went on, a jeep drove up. It was Tund, Emeka's old friend from Lagos, who had been sent to bring him back months ago. "I came to save you," Tund laughed, "but it turns out this place saved me. I'm staying." Everyone cheered and pulled him in to dance. Adeobi leaned over to Emeka and whispered, "We did it." "Not just us," he replied, "all of us." Love had won. Not just their love, but the village's love too. It was a story about never giving up, using your brain, and having a good heart. Emeka and Adeobi's story shows that love, strength, and faith can get you through anything. Emeka traded money for meaning, proving that real wealth comes from having a good heart and believing in God. Adeobi, who didn't have much, showed that God gives wisdom to those who are humble, so they can lift up others. Their story also shows that forgiveness is possible. It's like planting a seed, trusting that God will help peace grow out of pain. For all of us, whether we're working hard in Accra or dealing with the cold in Chicago, Proverbs 3 verse 5 is true. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Their story of getting through jealous exes, family drama, and huge problems teaches us to pray, "Lord, help me meet a good person," and walk through life with hope. We've got more great stories coming soon. Stories of mystery, fairness, and wisdom that are rooted in our land. Stay blessed, stay smart, and don't let the bad things fool you.